Greetings and welcome back to Drassier TMD. My name is Drassier and you're watching Space Engineers Survival. Alright, so as you can see we are back in the world and we're about to do some stuff. Completely forgot what I was going to say. So, on the point of stuff being done, I have armored up the craft a little bit. I may or may not have mentioned that I was going to put another thruster in here and like some thrusters on the side, but I decided against it in the end because the way the weight distribution kind of messes with that kind of stuff. It's actually better to have things in line with the center of gravity, and these are already mostly, well, as much in the center as they possibly can be. I also embellished the back here a little bit because I liked the way the framework looked that I'd set up, so I'm going to leave that there. There's completely non-functional. There's nothing about this at all that is helping the plane fly. It just, well, I think it looks cool, but that's just me. So that's coming along. I'm hoping to have that completed by the end of this episode. If I can get the greebling done, that's pretty much all that's left to do. There's a few systems that need to go into it, like a beacon, antenna, maybe an ore detector. I suppose I may as well. It wouldn't hurt. I mean, it's going to function as a scout. Whoops! Can you see that there? I've left those welders running. Very, very dangerous. I can't believe I haven't died so far. Interesting though, it actually says that it said they were off. Weird. Guess there's only one way to know. Okay, so they're clearly off. I had a suggestion by Daniel Nagel to name this, and this is a fantastic name, the Johnny 5 welders, because there are in fact 5 welders, and I think I was talking about short circuit whilst I was showing this particular machine off, so it was kind of a interesting happenstance, or at least I thought so. So I'm not going to do it directly. I mentioned in the comments that I'm going to call it the Saint, which is the name of the model robot that Johnny 5 actually is. It was the Saint robot program or whatever, and he was the 5th of that particular model. So this is the Saint, at least for now, until someone tells me otherwise, like, that's a stupid name, I can't believe you said that. Yeah, I like it. What else? Oh, I also have to think of a name for this. I was going to name it a class. I was going to have it be like the Outrider class, and I was thinking the Kestrel for the name because it can hover. But I don't know. Not that a Kestrel can truly hover per se. They use lift to get off the ground that way. You will have noticed also that I've done quite a lot to the base, as I said I was going to. I didn't get through building all the floor because it takes quite a while, even with the Saint on my side. But I moved all the refineries into here. I gave them all upgrades, so now they will refine at their maximum efficiency to get the most amount of ore I possibly can out of the ingots out of the ore. I moved the 2 sets of assemblers that I had along the pipeline and added 2 more and hooked those up. It's very rough and ready. I've got a system of pipes that run along the ceiling. They're not going to stay there. They're probably going to end up being piped either above the ceiling here or in the ground, possibly in the ground. But for right now, I'm just going to leave that as it is. And then you'll see this. Oh, wow, I even left these drills on. That was irresponsible. I have this bizarre contraption set up here that I originally had, I think, 4 of them that came down and drilled out a bunch of stuff. Then I wanted to make sure that the sides were actually even, so I made another one that kind of went around the side and drilled out the bottom here. The reason I drilled it out, I'm going to put a bunch of storage in here, so there's going to be probably some hydrogen tanks on the bottom, and then just straight what do you call those containers, large containers that will go in there, and then a kind of a system to, not a system necessarily, but a set of stairs and stuff to go down there, which actually brings me to a point that I want to add another mod. I want to add Shalstal's Catwalks mod. I know he's retired, but for now the Catwalks mod seems to still be working. I will test that in a little bit to see if I can add it, because then I'll go ahead and use that to decorate more of the base. But the thing that I said I would do first this episode, I'm going to test this rig. I'm going to see if it works. But one thing I want to do before I actually test it is I want to go ahead and run the programs, the custom programs that I made. So let's say set pistons 1. I want to run it and see if it actually does what I ask it to. Oh dear. Oh dear, program error. My terminal block does not contain a definition for velocity. And no accessible extension method, velocity accepting a first argument type. Well, this puts a huge dampener on my plans. There's clearly... here it is right here. This is what sets the velocity to 0.05. I wonder if something in the programming has changed though, and so the editor that I used is no longer... maybe it doesn't work anymore. That is a real shame. I can't run this without those programs because I need to set the pistons to certain things, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to program it. I can't use that obviously as a base because it seems to be incorrect. What I'm going to do, I'm going to research this. I'm going to pause the recording, go and research it a little bit, see what I can find out, and see if I can get it to work, because I really want to have this finished and work. Yeah. Well, that's what you get for messing with things you don't really know or don't understand. I don't know programming very well at all. I need to get someone to help me with that. So yeah, I'm going to be right back. Okay, so I've got something worked out. I've moved a few things around that I said I was going to do later, but I did now. I moved the welders back. Hopefully that won't mess with things too much. And I've changed the way I've programmed it. I will explain all that if this works. There's really not much else left to do but press the button. I suppose I could check the cargo container. Oh. I thought I set those up. I'm glad I checked this because that would have been unfortunate. Yeah, these are all supposed to be 50. Not all of them, but most of them. Okay, so I've changed the custom data for those to something a little bit more sensible. Hopefully that's enough. I meant to calculate it properly, but didn't. Okay, so I'm going to set up the camera to record. I guess we'll leave it at that. See how it goes. Hopefully nothing explodes. We shall see. Well, so half a montage, as it turned out, yeah, the cargo containers, for some reason they got zeroed out, and I don't understand why. Of course, this would need to have been welded up in order for the next section to be projected and welded properly. This didn't even weld, so that doesn't really make much of a difference. And you may have noticed too, at the very beginning, oh, it actually... Whoa. So when this first disconnected, it actually damaged this. And the damage apparently translated all the way through to this thing. So yeah, when it first shook loose, it actually was so violent it caused a bit of an issue. So I would say we can chalk this up to a partial success. Now, a partial success is not really a success at all, but what are you going to do? But what I actually ended up doing to set the pistons to what I wanted them to do, I actually used a different program, a script called Piston Control by Infal, I think it is. But yeah, what should have happened next is it should have come back in this direction a little bit, and it would have connected here, but of course it can't. And these welders should have turned off, but I wonder if there's a few pieces of my reasoning missing. It did at least lock and stay locked, so that's something. I can manually do this myself, or I can re-extend it and connect it back up again to try again. But the concept works. I'm not saying this is finished, unfortunately. I can make it work. It's just going to take a bit more time. And although I got to kind of do what I wanted, I don't have the energy to try and solve the issues right now. Besides, I have something else that I want to do, and that is to take, not this thing because it's not ready, I want to take the Orc. Whoa, a bit of a bounce there. I want to take the Orc over to there, that lookout tower, and I want to take out that lookout tower because that lookout tower is right in the way of me collecting silver, which I want to get more of, and it wouldn't hurt to grab a bit more gold too while I'm at it. Okay, Orc, ready to go on a combat mission? No? Well, we going anyway. If we are very lucky, this lookout tower will be very small, and if it's small enough, it will have what do you call them, anti-personnel turrets, or inside large grid turrets, or whatever they are, and that's it, which would be nice, but there's no guarantee. So what we're going to do is we're going to approach the base. We're going to sit a kilometer out. We're going to use the gun to do a little bit of scouting around the outside to see what is there, if anything. And if there's nothing there, well, then we can count our blessings that it's not too big of a deal. If it's too big for us, we will come back with some greater firepower in the form of the hopefully revamped tank if I need to end up redoing it. Or we will go ahead and take out whatever's there, because if it's just the small guns, we can actually creep up to our maximum range without any problem, and they won't be able to do anything. Okay. We are on the outskirts of the range now. Of course, if the guns are slightly towards us, they'll actually be closer than that marker says, so let's see. I think it's 9 to control the gun. No? There we go. Just switch it on. Oh, so it's a small outpost. We are going to head in a little bit more. And I am being cautious because I don't want to lose the Orc. I love this thing. So, let's actually also make sure that our maximum range is the maximum range. 600 meters, okay. The gun itself will probably start targeting as soon as we get close. I'm super tense. I know it's just a small outpost, but I am tense nonetheless. Okay, now that we're a little bit closer, let's take another look in the gun and see if we can see anything in particular. So, connector, door. That is a gun right there, isn't it? Right there. See if we can take it out from this distance. Oh, I think we scored a hit. The muzzle flash on that gun when you're zoomed in like that is no joke. Oh, okay, off. Scared me. Hopefully that's the only one that's in any particular range. I would be very surprised if that's the only gun on this tower. Oh, and I just realized that this thing could be trapped, so I'm actually going to park a good little ways away and head the rest of the way on foot. So at least if I die, I can be respawned. Clones will take over. Let's see anything. Whoa, oh! Okay, so there is another gun. I got limited hydrogen. Okay. That looks like my... Oh! I was about to say, that looks like it might be it. But there was a surprise sneaky gun on the underside of that thing. Oh dear. Well, I'm gonna have to run all the way there to go get the orc. I could, I suppose, bring the rhino, but I don't know. Okay, I will build myself. Or maybe I can just retrieve from here. Oh good, there's a gun. I'll take 3 ammo. I will also take a hydrogen bottle. Open my helmet. And I shall fly the rest of the way. Well, my second combat with a tower, an enemy installation, did not go nearly as well, and against a much lesser target as well, I managed to die. Oh well. Oh, so that marker, this rock, I had marked out a while back as a really interesting place for the future, which I will explain another day because it's quite involved, and I tend to ramble quite a bit as it is. So my body is right there. I'm fairly certain that if I'm not careful, I will die again. So let's be super cautious and set fire to it. And get back my precious, awesome stuff. Oh, it looks like I was almost out of hydrogen. What I was going to say, I was actually looking inside, thinking that there's probably another gun, which there is, right in there. So let's do this. Alright. Whoop. Well. Access denied. Access denied. I'm not surprised. What kind of sweet loots did we get? Interior plate. Steel plate. In other words, less than nothing. But this is a relatively small building and 4 guns total. And they're small at that, interior turrets.
Inventory full.
Of course, I don't have the components to...
Inventory full.
It's okay, I'm just wanting to hack this thing. Let's see. What is on here? Air vent. DBST. What does DBST stand for, I wonder? Something. Air vent, batteries, collector, connector, lookout tower, that's the antenna, lights. So what I was looking for, and I don't see anything, I was looking for explosive, which there could still be in here. Oh, that's right. Oh, there's another here. You know what? Let's go ahead and put this back. We don't need that for a second. Ooh. They're not great, but there's some stuff in here that's kind of cool. What I'll do is I'll take the valuable things. Of course, I've just done that. Okay, good. I was about to say, I've just done that and it probably isn't any power on still, because those batteries look like they were... One of them looked like it was decharged, or it was set to recharge, which doesn't actually give you any power. Okay, so I'm relatively hopeful that that's not going to blow up anymore, so I'm going to park her right here. I'm going to collect the goods and head back to base. A sudden and almost, gosh, everything's slightly successful. I don't think I should fly the VTOL ship, because if it's going to be only partially successful, something's going to explode. But since this thing is here, and since it has been soundly defeated, I think I will work on another project I've been wanting to do, and one I'm going to need for all the debris that's over there, a grinder vehicle. Or I could just repurpose Saint. The only problem with using Saint to come and break this stuff down is... well, it doesn't travel well. It's not exactly a machine built for long distances. And I'd hate to think of it trying to get back home fully laden with whatever stuff it retrieves from here. All the same, it would be nice to test out its capabilities, so maybe we'll go do that. Let's take the Orc back to base. Oops. And let's fetch Saint and see how well it can maneuver to get out and to get to this location. If it works out, then great. If not, then we tried. Now, in order to get down, make sure your parking brake is on at the very least. He's gonna have to come down here. So let's go ahead and whoops. Well, fortunately, the Orc has quite a few bits and pieces that we just picked up. Let's use those, and we shall. Just make a smoother ramp for it to go down. So, grinder is what we want to put on the front here now. So, let's go ahead and break these down. Well, okay then. So as you saw, I was able to break down that entire base with no problem. Turned it into a bit of a montage. The Saint worked very well. I went ahead and replaced the welders again so I can continue with the floor as and when I get time. I wanted to show you guys something. I have actually started moving some of the piping around. I decided that rather than drilling out more stuff, because I'm quite frankly getting tired of drilling, I decided to just embed the piping into the ceiling. I'm probably going to have two lines actually running either side, but this is the one that needs to be piped for the minute. I did go ahead and break down that rig that was in here. I've replaced it with the containers that I wanted. I decided not to put any hydrogen storage in here. If I really have to, I can put a tank or two somewhere, but I at the moment just want pure storage because I did go ahead and do another test of the drill and it worked to a degree. It did weld up what I wanted, though there were some hiccups in that apparently I had forgotten to program it to turn the welders off. That's why the welders weren't turning off. That's entirely my fault for not thinking. Some timing issues that can be buttoned up. Just dead time where it's just sitting there waiting for the next task because I wasn't sure how long to leave it to make sure it got built or whatever. The other thing, unfortunately, because of where these welders are positioned, it is more difficult apparently for the system to weld this block and this block. And it has to do with the fact that this connector is in the way. If the welders are further forward, it apparently doesn't cause as much of an issue. I could potentially slow the pistons down on the way back as it's welding up. I don't want to have to slow it down. In fact, what I want to do is start figuring out how to speed it up. That's the whole point, is to build a prototype and then start refining it. And now I'm in the point where I'm like, okay, now that it works, what can I do to refine it? So that's the status of this. I would say the prototype is complete. Anyway, so I'm going to quickly modify this and then I'll show you what else I have worked on today. That's all set up again. I moved them back as I said I would. That's all sorted out. Actually I want to work on a vehicle that is similar in size to this, but with a large flat plate at either the front or the back. I'm not quite sure which yet. Because what I want it to be able to do is carry this. I want to set this on top of like a movable truck type thing so that it can wheel this in and out of the hangar. Kind of like how, you know, if you've ever seen those little, like, hugely powerful, these little tug cars, trucks, whatever you want to call them, at airports that push and pull. I think it's just push. Then they just use them for pushbacks. The big airliners. Amazing little machines. It's actually something I've always liked about airports, is the sheer number of different vehicles for different things. That's kind of what I'm going for with this, is lots of little different things for lots of different purposes. Now, front cockpit, that's the pilot seat. That's where the flying happens, main cockpit. This is going to be the sort of the gunner operations seat. There is a gun on here. It obviously can't point forward, but that's fine because there are two Gatling guns on the front here. Because this is a scout ship, I have riddled it with cameras. Let me find out whose suggestion that was really quick. Okay, it was Vladislav Piskarev who suggested to put cameras on this, which of course makes perfect sense. It's a spy scout plane, aircraft. So there's one on the bottom here for sort of aerial top-down views, one going forward which is actually mainly to aim the guns at the front here, two on the sides just because, and then one finally. Whoops, I didn't realize that I was going to go that fast, but then we never do. That's why we keep dying to the jetpack. And then one on the back here, which does have a slightly obstructed view, but I thought it was the best spot for it. It does mean that it's riddled with, hey, come and shoot me in this point right here sections, but oh well. Obviously you can see I've armored it up, and I've actually added a third battery, because the two of them were okay, but it didn't have much of a battery life, which was unfortunate. I added some more thrusters, some smaller thrusters on the sides, 2 on this one and 1 each on the side thrusters. I was actually even considering doubling up the large thrusters, having a second one right next to the other, but the way it looked was kind of I may end up having to do that still. I haven't actually tested it yet with all this armor that's on here, and what I actually ended up doing is most of this shell, this ring around the outside, is hollow. There are lots of spaces that have half blocks, and I'm not sure if the half blocks are even less weighty than standard blocks, because if you look at this, it's 1 steel plate for each of these components. So I don't know that's actually made any difference whatsoever. I did revamp the feet. I turned those into light armor and kind of styled it a little bit differently. The connector has been dropped down 1 to make room for a medium cargo container that also connects to the gun right here. Everything's piped up too, so there's an access port here, and on the top there are 4 parachutes all piped up. It's got a beacon, it's got an antenna, it's got an ore detector just because. I feel like I'm missing a system somewhere that I will probably remember as soon as I need. Oh, I do have 4 gyroscopes on here, all embedded in the wings. So 4, 2 each side. So hopefully if I do get tagged, I'll at least have half a ship to kind of get out of there and land. The connector is, at the moment, it's not even attached to the base per se, it's just there to recharge it. But since we have this thing ready, I'm going to go ahead and give it a test flight. I do also have another mod I installed, and I'm going to have to remember what it's called. I think I have a list somewhere that's got it on it, so I'm going to go check that really quick. Okay, this is one that Robin Shield suggested to me along with the in setting up the rotor system. He suggested what it's called is just Control Module by Digi. I will try to put it into the description. I feel like I've been getting really lax about stuff like that recently, and I don't want to get into that habit. I want to make sure I credit everybody for their hard work, because my goodness, some of these mods are absolutely amazing. I mentioned to you already that Infal was the one who made the piston system control that I have been using. There may be others out there that have other things that they can do, but that one has served my purpose extremely well, and so I'm very grateful for it. So please go find Infal, give him some love. Go see Digi stuff, give him some love. Go through the list and just go say nice things to those people, because they do this mostly like on their own time and just out of pure passion, and they deserve a lot more credit than they get. So to the modders, you guys rock. To the script writers, you guys rock. And actually there's some people out there who can create much more awesome looking ships than this, and I don't have nearly that much talent, and I salute them also. So to everybody, cheers and thanks and stuff to everybody. Wow, I'm feeling like really like gushy right now. Okay, so that's 8 and 5. 5 is not actually even thingamajigs. Can click unlock. Yep, I was worried about that. Oh my word, we are drifting, we are drifting. Oh, the dampeners. Okay, so the control module is what allows us to... Okay, what is going on? I was about to say the control module is what allows us to... Oh, the system's still on standby. Okay, so one of the things I foolishly did was I took the programming block off of here, which actually still needs to be on there. I'm going to go ahead and put that at the back here. Run, and I'm going to say percentage stand by. This is entirely my fault, guys, so feel free to boo and hiss me in the comments, because this was just ridiculous on my part. 9. There we go. Okay, so now we can switch the engines on. We can move forward and try not to break our tail on the... Oh, wow. Okay, so I meant to be like disconnect, raise the landing gears, and then like take off in a blaze of glory, but that didn't happen. So let's Let's make the make it much easier to see. Let's actually let's leave the tab on for a second so we can see the various settings. So you can see just hovering, it's using 16 power. Going at full blast forward, that's 28. Let's see what happens when we do some crazy maneuvers. Now, what I'm doing is I'm actually using the sort of the twisting motion to steer. Let's make sure we can see properly. To steer. Oh, I love this thing. I love vector thrust ships. Like I said, there are other ships that are out there that are better. The center of gravity is actually pretty spot on, which is also part of the reason why I added another battery. But we've got under an hour of flight time in this with just those 3 batteries. I could have filled up a lot of those empty spaces with small batteries just to give it some extra oomph, but I don't really need to. This is actually really pretty cool for what it is. It's kind of hefty, and it's because of the way I designed it. It's this whole like donut shape. I could definitely strip it down to be much more lightweight, but it would only have a single row of blocks, and maybe I'll do that later for a light scout. Basically, this would be considered a heavy scout. Oh, so yes, I mentioned that I was going to call this. It's an Outrider class, but the craft itself is called the Kestrel. I was going to call it the Hummingbird for the whole like flying thing, and I was going to decorate it in like this really gaudy, lurid aqua sort of color to make it look like a shiny hummingbird. Then I realized that, wait, this is supposed to be a scout. I don't think that's a good idea. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to color it sort of blues and whites on the bottom and then greens on the top, so that from the bottom, I don't know if you've ever seen great whites. They've actually got, they're not entirely white, they've got grey and white, so that from the bottom they're difficult to see, and from the top they're difficult to see, which I think is unfair. They're already like an apex predator, and then they're like, let's also camouflage ourselves. Why not? Guys, come on, you don't need that. You're huge and you've got teeth. You're good. You can swim through the sea like, you know, a bullet from a gun. You guys have got this. I don't think you need any extra advantages. So this is the Outrider class, the Kestrel. Drop the landing gear. I'm gonna kind of head down a bit, and I'm gonna have to use the. Oh, actually, you know what? If I'd thought about it, I could have put the downward facing one nearer to the downward facing camera nearer to where the connector is, to make it useful as a landing aid. And there we are. We are down. We are. Let's go ahead and disengage the engines. Let's. What else do we need to do? I think that's it. I guess we could turn the whole system off, so back onto standby. And if we look at the little screen over here, we can see it's on standby. I know I can do that on the control systems for the flight stuff, but actually I want to keep these open for other things. That's why I've got the 2 screens there, so that the primary like flight system, the VTOL, is its own thing. I do realize it could get tagged by fire, but honestly, if something's shooting at the cockpit, I'm already in trouble. So go ahead and lock, disembark. Ooh, it is still spinning. Why is it doing that? It's supposed to be on standby. Let's take it off of standby. Can I see it from here? Not very well. Oh, okay, so keeping it on standby helped to put it back to where it was. I'm worried again that because this is enclosed in a ring of sorts, that's what's causing part of the problem. However, since it seems to be being held by the VTOL system, the vector thrust, I guess we can just leave it as is. Whew, that was a lot of talking just to show you guys this one thing. I think though so far this is the thing, this vehicle is the one I'm the most proud of so far. I love it, and I may have mentioned a while back that this was a test for another project I wanted to work on in regards to sort of vector thrust chips, but that will have to be a project for another time, probably before we head to the moon takeoff site, which, by the way, that's the next thing we need to do. So I tried to break this series up so far into sort of logical blocks. The first block was supposed to be this sort of like mining endeavor, which ended up spilling over into the second block, basically 10 episodes each of different things. This time was supposed to be, you know, setting up infrastructure, mining a whole bunch, getting that base set up, and it didn't quite work out exactly as I planned, but oh well. So for those of you wondering about blueprints, I am going to be releasing these. So this one is almost completely done. I just need to give it a paint job, go over it with a fine-tooth comb, make sure I haven't forgotten any systems. All the flight systems seem to be fine because I didn't crash, so that's all good. The Saint I'm going to have to go over, and I'm going to drop these tires down. I know it will make it slightly more top-heavy, but that's just the way it is. I'm going to drop the wheels down. I'm going to add a second large container back here instead of just this section right here. And what I'm probably going to do is move these wheels forward one. I can't move these ones because it'll mess up the it'll kind of intersect with this stuff right here, and these ones aren't supposed to move. And then put a large container on the back to give it some more storage. I might... oh, I can't because it's not got the right number of ports. I was going to suggest maybe doing... see, I'm going into redesign mode, which is not a good idea while I'm while I'm recording, because it wastes so much time. Speaking of wasting so much time, I'm coming to the end of the episode now, so I'm going to wrap things up, but I just want to go through this with you anyway. Drop the wheel down, move it forward one, add the large container, and once that's done, this machine will be mostly done. I'm going to leave it there. The reason that I created this aircraft with 2 cockpits is I would like to invite somebody to come and join me in this world, to come and have a look around, and I figured that the best way to do that would be to have a vehicle that we can buzz around in, and so that's what this is set up for. I mean, it was also to get around and look at stuff. Oh my goodness, every time I see those in the sky I freak out. I think that's a scuttler. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that! I can read it just from the silhouette. That's really sad, actually. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I will not keep you any longer. By the way, also, I'm up to 75 subscribers. Doesn't mean a lot to everybody, but to me it's very humbling, and it's a boost to my desire to get this sort of stuff done. It's really cool. Thank you guys. So three quarters of the way there to our first goal. So, you know, thank you guys. It couldn't have been done without you, because if you hadn't subscribed, we wouldn't be there. You're awesome. So like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And you all have a good one, and I'll see you on the other side.